What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Tuesday, the 5th day of November in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here is what we're tracking tonight. Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance Gail Teixeira today said there needs to be a new culture in Guyana where there is zero tolerance for corruption in both the public and private sectors. She said there should be zero tolerance for persons who offer and solicit bribes to access state resources and bypass legitimate systems.
In my mind, what has to be developed consciously is a new culture that is not based on a view by some that you have to grease someone's hand to get something, but where the systems work transparently and fairly and people trust them to do so. We need to have a new culture where people feel that if they want a passport or they want to put in a tender for a contract, they don't have to grease anybody's palm.
The governance minister was at the time addressing an anti-corruption workshop at the Pegasus Hotel this morning. The event was held under the theme Collaborating with the Private Sector in Guyana's Fight Against Corruption. Minister Teixeira said corruption undermines a country's democracy, its development, and the well-being of its people.
We recognize that corruption removes resources from people and the capacity for their development and well-being. For every dollar that is passed under the table to win a contract or to make someone wealthy, denies an ordinary person maybe access to a good road, or to a school, or to a health center, or to more drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, that is. And therefore, anti-corruption is a fight also. Corruption denies and undermines the use of resources that are given by the taxpayers, for example, in the government case, to enhance and improve the development of our people. And every dollar that is removed from that by questionable activities or by corrupt practices is denying people access to better quality of life.
According to Teixeira, the state through decades has taken steps to strengthen its fight against corruption. She noted that Guyana has ratified the Inter-American Convention Against Corruption, acceded to the UN Convention Against Corruption, and adopted the Lima Commitment, in addition to the UN General Assembly Political Declaration on Corruption. It now has in place an anti-corruption framework. She also said in keeping with its international obligation and local framework, the government has been taking a stance against those who seek to exploit the country's public sector investment program by milking it through corrupt practices. Minister Teixeira said the government wants the procurement system in particular to be fair and transparent and will fire anyone found guilty of engaging in corrupt practices. Minister Teixeira said while the government has a framework in place that was formulated in keeping with the Constitution, anti-corruption laws and regulations, the private sector must also put systems in place to weed out and guard against corruption.
We're not perfect, and the work that we have to build, we have to work together, government, private sector, and civil society, to build a robust anti-corruption system. And we have to admit sometimes that once there are humans, this will continue to be a struggle.
The Governance and Parliamentary Affairs Minister assured that the government will continue to take steps to strengthen its legislative framework through the enforcement and the revision of laws to fight off corruption. One such law under review is the Company Act to rectify existing loopholes. The one-day workshop was hosted by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance. More news coming up in just a moment.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. I can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Mobile fuels are made with our customers in mind. Mobile Synergy Supreme Plus is designed to help you protect your engine so that your vehicle can give you better mileage and better performance. When you choose Mobile Synergy Supreme Plus, you choose a fuel that will help keep your vehicle running at its best. Visit a mobile service station today and fuel up with Mobile Synergy Supreme Plus. Mobile trademarks are owned by ExxonMobil and used under license.
The Working People's Alliance, the WPA, believes political parties in the opposition must join forces to unseat the People's Progressive Party Civic at next year's general and regional elections. At present, the main opposition parties, a Partnership for National Unity and the Alliance for Change, sit in the National Assembly as a coalition. But to date, there has been no clear indication whether or not they will contest the upcoming elections together again as a coalition. Executive member of the Working People's Alliance, Takuma Ogunsi, said there is no better alternative.
But we in the WPA, looking at the situation in Guyana, are convinced that going forward, we must have a united opposition based upon coalition politics to confront the PPP. We don't see any other alternative that stand a chance of defeating the PPP.
At a virtual press conference on Monday, Mr. Ogunsi said the Working People's Alliance, which had formed part of the APNU but left just after the last elections, remains committed to coalition politics. And weighing in on the issue, Dr. David Hines of the WPA said alternatively the opposition parties can contest the elections independently. He said while they may be able to secure a number of seats, as was the case in 2011, it would possibly result in a minority government. Dr. Hines said a minority government and the majority opposition would not produce the desired results, explaining that though it was a minority government, the Donald Ramotar administration continued to operate as if it was a majority government. Convinced of the need for a joint coalition, the WPA has had talks with the two large opposition parties, the People's National Congress Reform, which forms part of the APNU, and the AFC.
We are clear. Our first resort is to go as a coalition, and our very last resort is to go by ourselves into the election. We feel that the PPP has made it clear that it does not want coalition at this time. It does not want a national government. And so, with that in mind, we have to then reach for the second best option, and that is a coalition government. In effect, we feel that we need to fight the election as a coalition, win the election, and then use that as a platform for a national government.
Dr. Hines said he is hopeful that the People's National Congress reform and the AFC could arrive at a position on a possible coalition sooner. However, he said while the WPA strongly supports coalition politics, there are conditions that must be met before it joins forces with either of the parties. Singling out the APNU, Hines said it must convince the WPA that it would become a democratic organization. He said under the last coalition there were serious concerns about the manner in which decisions were made.
Decisions were taken in government that the members of the APNU did not know of. We learned of it like other organizations, we learned of it in the press. We pleaded with the leadership that big issues, big policy issues should come before the coalition, and for the coalition, meaning come before the APNU, for the APNU to discuss, debate it, and make recommendations to the government. We made it very clear that the APNU grouping should not become a substitute for government, but that the member parties should be involved.
Dr. David Hines said while the WPA would not rake in hundreds of thousands of voters, it has the potential to influence hundreds of thousands of voters through its policies, and therefore it needs an active seat at the table. It was a joint coalition that led to the PP Civic being defeated at the 2015 elections. In expressing deep concern over the recent armed robbery and abduction at the GGMC checkpoint in Bushmouth, South Rupununi, the South Rupununi District Council said the incident raises extreme alarm regarding the safety and security of Wapishan communities, particularly those near the Marudi mining area. The council said Wapishan people not engaged in mining activities were also victims of robbery and the assault, and the council never anticipated such crimes occurring so close to their peaceful communities. 9 persons were abducted and robbed by Portuguese-speaking gunmen believed to be from neighboring Brazil. All of the victims were eventually freed, but there has been no arrest in the case. The armed men were demanding gold and money from those they abducted. The South Rupununi District Council reminded that it has consistently voiced concerns about the effects of mining in the Marudi Mountains and Wapishan communities and lands. It said it believes that the escalation of such criminal activities is linked to the increase in mining operations. The council noted that there has also been an influx of Brazilians in the Marudi mining area, with several reports indicating that many of them are entering Guyana through an illegal route along the Guyana-Brazilian border, the same path used by the robbers to escape. The body said the increase in mining activities became noticeable in 2022, following the eviction of Brazilian miners from the Yanomami territory, during a time when an agreement allowing small miners to continue mining on a concession now controlled by Golden Shield's resources was already in effect. The council said despite repeated requests, Wapishan communities were not given the opportunity to read, discuss, or provide input on the agreement, and it was only after more than 2 years that a copy was finally provided to the council. It was also noted that the mining activities disrupt the social fabric of the communities and pose significant threats to the well-being of the people. The council said the illegal activities should not be allowed to continue. The South Rupununi District Council is demanding that the relevant authorities take action to bolster security measures in the Marudi Mountains to prevent any future incidents. It is also recommending the establishment of a police outpost in the Marudi mining area, given the alarming increase in mining activities. Further, the council is insisting that all mining operations be suspended until comprehensive regulatory systems are established to protect their communities, and until there is meaningful and effective participation in line with the principle of free, prior, and informed consent. ensuring full respect for the rights of indigenous peoples under national and international law. The council said it is imperative that the government engages in meaningful dialogue with Wapijan communities to address their urgent concerns regarding the environmental and social impacts of mining in Wapijan territory.
The Guyana Elections Commission GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by December 31st, 2024 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. Types of transactions. Anyone eligible for registration is required to visit the registration office responsible for his or her area of residence to apply for registration. Persons who are already registered could apply for a name change if they have changed their names since they were last registered. Apply for corrections if there is incorrect information on their national ID cards. Persons who are desirous of conducting any of the above transactions must provide the relevant supporting documents. Persons who are already registered could request that their photographs be retaken if the quality of the photographs on their ID cards is unacceptable. Collect their new ID cards if they have not done so as yet. This registration exercise will end on November 29, 2024. For further information, please contact GCOM on the following hotline numbers: 225-027729, 226-6557, 223-9650, or visit the GCOM website at www.gcom.org.gy.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank. We're the one for you.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. I can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Opposition Member of Parliament and AFC Executive Kemerej Ramjatian is challenging the government once again over the state of the Guyana Sugar Corporation, Gaisuco, and the main sugar union's apparent complicity in the state of the sector. The Guyana Agricultural and General Workers Union, GAWU, recently expressed worry about the low sugar production for this year, despite billions of dollars being spent on the industry. According to GAWU, it is unacceptable for Gaisuco to be nowhere near to its production target for the year, when the year is almost done. But at a press conference on Friday, Mr. Ramjatan said he believes that the stance taken by GAWU is nothing more than pretense. He said GAWU ought to press the government to embark on a program to right-size the industry so that it can minimize losses. Mr. Ramjatan said the union is unlikely to take that position, since it could threaten its own existence.
Additionally, subventions to Gaisuco from the PPP government this year alone stands at $9.2 billion. Since the PPP's coming to office in 2020, an approximate sum of $43 billion has so far been inputted into that corporation. So the sweet talk of improvement in production was thus all hollow. The intent was to create great expectations for its support base and to perpetuate massive misspendings and corruption in the sector.
In response, GAWU said it has long expressed positive support for the industry's mechanization efforts, noting their complementary effects and impact on productivity. However, the Sugar Union said it fully supports the investments being made by the government in hopes of turning the industry around. In a statement to the press, GAWU's president, C. Paul Narain, said the union has not forgotten that it was the former APNU-AFC government that Ramjatan served that closed sugar estates down and sent workers home. But Mr. Ramjatan argues that the government cannot continue to pour billions of taxpayers' dollars into something that is not working.
What this means, that is, this threat to its financial existence, is that GAWU cannot take a principled, prudent stance as to the future of the sugar sector, and so it will shed crocodile tears as it recently did.
The opposition member of parliament believes that the sugar industry suffers fundamental problems which cannot be solved by replacing CEOs or creating high expectations. He contends that the cost to produce sugar here is extremely high, and the government is creating expectations it will eventually find hard to manage. Gaisuco recorded losses of more than $4 billion last year. In the two previous years, 2021 and 2022, the sugar company recorded more than $18 billion in losses. On the police blotter, moments after four men carried out a daring robbery at the Clonbrook barbershop last night, quick action by the Guyana police force led to the arrest of two of the suspects. One of the arrested suspects is just 17 years old. The name of the adult suspect has been given as Nikolai Charles from Ling Avenue in Georgetown. The police also announced that the car which was used in the robbery has been confiscated after the other suspects abandoned the ride. In its statement, the police said that the four robbers first attacked a barbershop in the east coast of Marara village of Clonbrook just before 7 p.m. The four relieved the barber and two of his customers of two gold chains believed to be valued at $1 million, two phones, and just over $200,000 in cash. The police said one of the robbers first posed as a customer, inquiring about a haircut. Moments after he entered the barbershop, he was joined by the other three suspects who carried out the robbery. After the men made their escape, an alarm was raised and the police were contacted. The car was spotted by a police patrol in the village of Betavawacting on the east coast. And as the police closed in on the car, three of the suspects were seen abandoning the vehicle and running away. The driver of the car was left behind and was arrested by the police. The other suspect, the teenager, was later nabbed. Searches are ongoing for the other three remaining suspects.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Gaioil is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Gaioil's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Gaioil, has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by December 31, 2024 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. Where to apply for registration? You are required to visit the registration office that is responsible for the registration of persons in your area of residence to apply for registration. Office hours, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 12 hours, 13 hours to 16 hours 30, and Friday from 8 to 12 hours and 13 to 15 hours 30. The offices will be closed on weekends and holidays. This registration exercise will end on November 29, 2024. For further information, contact GCOM on 225-027729 or visit the website www.gcom.org.gy.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look. You know the one. Or one touch. Even one word. I can start with one step. Or one promise. One thrill. One first time. One deep breath. One leap of faith. One day to remember. Or one night to forget. One moment. So many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life. Just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Across the region tonight, let's begin in Antigua, where communities in Antigua and Barbuda have been plunged into mourning following the tragic death of Member of Parliament Asset Michael. He was found laying in a pool of blood in his home this morning. The circumstances surrounding his death remain unclear, but the authorities have launched a full investigation suspecting foul play in the murder. The Antigua and Barbuda police force in a statement today said he was found with what appears to be multiple puncture wounds about his body. Michael is a former government minister in Antigua and Barbuda. He was expelled from the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party following concerns about bribe soliciting. He has always maintained his innocence. The Dominican Republic's National Directorate of Drug Control has foiled another drug trafficking attempt at the Punta Cana International Airport in the Dominican Republic. The agency reported today that anti-narcotics officers and prosecutors received information of a drug trafficking operation and intercepted a Dominican who was escorting several suitcases full of the alleged narcotic substances. After inspecting the luggage, 18 packages of the suspected drug were found in each suitcase for a total of 54 blocks wrapped up with adhesive tape as well as 2 GPS devices with no legible markings. The drugs were destined for Lisbon in Portugal. The agency also said their investigations led to the arrest of a Colombian national at the airport's terminal who was allegedly accompanying the Dominican. The agents also seized the Honda SUV, 87,800 Dominican pesos, 10,000 US dollars, cell phones, personal documents, and other pieces of evidence. Both suspects have been taken into custody ahead of their court appearance, reports Loop Caribbean. And finally tonight, international news. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has fired his defense minister Yoav Gallant, saying there is a crisis of trust between them. Netanyahu said in a statement his trust in Gallant had eroded in recent months, and Foreign Minister Israel Katz would replace him. Gallant posted on social media that the security of the State of Israel was and will always remain the mission of his life. The sacking has already prompted protests on the streets of Tel Aviv, and political opposition leaders have called for wider public demonstrations. Netanyahu and Gallant have long had a divisive working relationship. Prior to the start of the war in Gaza in October 2023, Netanyahu in March that year had fired Gallant over political differences before reinstating him following major public outcry. Since Israel began its military offensive against Hamas in Gaza, Gallant has been a key senior figure of the campaign. But on Tuesday, Netanyahu said in a statement, in the midst of a war, more than ever, full trust is required between the Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to have a safe and enjoyable night.